Clark, who drops a three. That makes it look so easy. Oozing confidence. Hits to Boston, and it's right on the money. Clark back for Boston. Handy Clark able to track it down and feeds inside to Boston. What a pass. Boston lays it in, and a foul!
On June 11, 2026, Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston walked into a game against the Chicago Sky and walked out having broken 8 WNBA records in a single night. Not 1, not 2, 8. And the craziest part isn't even the number. It's what they actually did to get there. Because nobody in this league's entire history had ever seen two teammates do what they pulled off in that gym.
We're 14 points and 4 dimes.
Right here, Caitlin Clark. She's going to get a lot of attention, which is going to allow Aliyah Boston to pop, set her feet, and be able to get going. And then right here, again, when you play with a good passer, you cut and you keep your hands up.
Breaking down every single one of those records, plus every big moment from a game that got way more intense than it ever should have. From the early lead Indiana nearly gave away all the way through overtime, where Clark and Boston made history together. Show your support for Caitlin and Aliyah by commenting CC and AB record breaker. There's one play that basically sums up everything Clark and Boston did to Chicago all night. Clark comes off a Boston screen at the top of the key and the Chicago defender has to make a choice right now. Stay with Clark or drop back to stop Boston rolling to the rim. Stay with Clark and Boston catches it in the paint with nobody around her. Drop back and Clark's pulling up for a jumper or attacking the lane. Neither option is good and Chicago faced that exact problem over and over again for 45 minutes. What makes this so hard to guard isn't just the action itself. It's that both players are genuine threats as the primary option on any given possession. Most two-man games have a clear hierarchy. One player is the...
He hasn't been to the free throw line very often, but that will set up her ability to get to the line by knocking down triples.
Here's Boston's second three-point look. That one goes down. It's her 11th already of the season. She hit 6 a year ago.
There's that jet action that's really tough to guard.
Boston finds some space, lays it in, and an and one herself. An answer for Boston. This run started with Taylor. Boston hounding Stevens. Shot clock down to 7. Boston comes up with the block. Hines Allen pulls it down.
Real danger and the other is the or else. Clark and Boston don't work that way. Boston's roll game is lethal enough that Chicago couldn't afford to sag off her the way defenses sag off a center who's just a screener. So every single screen she's had forced a real decision, not just a minor inconvenience. Clark finished with 32 points and 10 assists across 40 minutes. And a lot of those assists came directly from Boston catching on the roll right in the paint and either finishing at the rim or drawing fouls. Boston ended the night with 34 points, a career-high 12 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 blocks. And she put up those numbers against a Chicago defense that absolutely knew the Fever were going to run this action repeatedly and still couldn't crack it. That's not a scheme failing. That's two players being better than what a defense can realistically do about them.
On the court together, what do you think has contributed to the growth and chemistry among you two over the years?
I mean, I think we're good friends. Like, that always helps. Like, yeah, like, you can be teammates and play basketball, but if you, like, really care for each other and love each other off the court, and I think that goes for our whole team, is, like, when you have that bond and you truly get to know somebody and build a relationship with them, like, that helps, because when you're on the court, you're going to go through moments of adversity. Like, that's just basketball, and that's what helps you get you through. But also, like, I feel like I always know where Aliyah is. I think we got a little telepathy now, so hopefully we get that going.
Chicago tried everything. They switched on the screen. They dropped back. They trapped Clark before she even got off the screen, and none of it held up consistently because Clark and Boston kept adjusting in real time. When Clark got doubled, she found the open player. When Boston sensed her defender cheating toward Clark, she changed her angle on the roll. Clark talked about it after the game pretty directly. "I feel like I always know where Aliyah is. I think we got a little telepathy now." And she connected that to something off the court too, saying, "I think we're good friends." Like, that always helps, because when you genuinely know someone as a person, you start reading them before they even move. Myisha Hines Allen added a whole different layer to Indiana's interior, finishing with a plus-minus of +25 in just 23 minutes, and her block on J.C. Sheldon swung a possession at exactly the moment Indiana needed it. Lexi Hull's 11 points and 8.
It's in there. Boston, another offensive rebound. It's Indiana's 13th. Boston lays it in, and a foul. The offensive rebounds.
8 rebounds won't get anyone's attention in the box score, but she played the kind of defense and grabbed the kind of boards that keep a two-man game from getting smothered by extra attention. Clark and Boston combined for 66 points, which is more than half of Indiana's 114-point total, and their teammates did exactly enough around them to make sure Chicago never found another way back into it. 8 records, 2 players, 1 game that went to overtime. None of this happened in garbage time with the outcome already locked up. Clark and Boston were breaking history while the game was still very much in doubt. And that context matters when you're looking at what they actually pulled off on June 11. Start with Aliyah Boston's 34 points because that number does something beyond just being a career high. It puts her alongside Aya Wilson as the only centers this entire 2026 season to drop a 30-point game. Aya Wilson, that's the company Boston's in now as a scoring center. And if you've been watching her develop
Tonight, another Commissioner's Cup game. The Fever are in defense of their championship from a year ago. They likely need to win tonight to keep those chances alive. That pass deflected way outside for Clark, who drops a 3.
Makes it look so easy.
She's coming off a great defensive performance in Washington, where she held Citron well below her season averages. Clark spins, fades, fires, and hits.
over the last 2 years, it shouldn't feel like a surprise, but it still hits different when you see the name next to hers in the record books. Now, here's the one that genuinely had never happened before in the WNBA's entire history. Clark and Boston each posted a 30-point double-double in the same game, which made them the first 2 teammates ever to do that. Not the first this season, not the first in the last decade. The first ever. Every great duo that's played together in this league since it started in 1997, and not one of them pulled this off before Clark and Boston did it against Chicago. Clark's 32 points and 10 assists also gave her the Fever franchise record for most 30-point double-doubles by any player in Indiana history. And she's only in her 3rd season. So that record has been sitting there waiting to be broken by someone who was supposed to take years to get there. The WNBA.
Good double team.
Clark just oozing confidence. Hits to Boston, and it's right on the money. Clark driving baseline, creates some space and finishes with the reverse.
That looked like a little bit of matchup zone to me.
Indiana needs offense. Clark spinning. Clark, oh, she got to the rim.
Record for most 30-point, 10-assist games in league history now belongs to Clark with 3. The next closest player in the history of this league has 1, not 2, 1. So Clark isn't just leading this category. She's basically the only person in it because nobody else has ever done this more than once across their entire career. Which brings us to the fact that Clark is also the first player in WNBA history to record multiple 30-point, 10-assist games in a single season. She did in 1 year what no player had managed across a full career. And 2026 still has games left on the schedule. She also tied Diana Taurasi and Chelsea Gray for 4th most double-doubles by a guard in WNBA history. Those are 2 of the best guards this league has ever produced. So pulling even with them isn't accidental. It's Clark's game doing exactly what it's been doing all season. Clark became the fastest player in WNBA history to reach 200 points, 50 rebounds, and 50 assists in a single season.
Of course.
Hey, good energy, brother.
Oh, great job, man.
Come on. Thanks for coming.
Oh, man, great game. I got to come back.
I know, I love it. You need to come every game.
I know,
you gotta come every game.
I'm locked in.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, big dub.
That combination covers scoring, playmaking, and getting involved in possessions at every level. So it's not a counting stat that inflates with one good aspect of your game. You need all 3 to actually be working. And Clark got there faster than anyone before her. And then there's what the whole team did. Indiana scored 114 points, the most the Fever franchise has ever put up in a single game. They didn't hit that number in a comfortable blowout. They hit it in a game that went to overtime against a Chicago team that clawed all the way back from 19 down. So the offense was producing at a franchise record level while the game was genuinely competitive right up until the final buzzer. Both Clark and Boston are 24 years old. 8 records between them in one night. And neither of them is anywhere close to the peak of what they're capable of doing together. Indiana built a 19-point lead. The score sat at 35-16 with 7 minutes and 29 seconds left in the second quarter. And it felt like the Fever were about to cruise to a comfortable win. Then Chicago went on a 14-2 run over the final 3 minutes of that same quarter. And by halftime, the lead was down to 6 points, 46-40. And anyone who's watched this team all season already knew what that feeling meant. The third quarter.
Yeah, for either of you, this is the third straight game you've had that double-digit lead in the second quarter, third quarter, then lost it kind of in that way. Just what similarities do you see between these 3 games and losing the lead like that, and what can you do to just stop that from happening?
Most of it's on us. Like, we just have to make sure that we're taking care of the ball. I think in some of those stretches where teams go on run, we've turned the ball over 2 out of the 3 possessions in a row, and then we're not getting stopped. So for us, it's about sometimes maybe slowing ourselves down a little bit, making sure that we get a quality shot, and then locking down on defense. I think Chicago got out some transition buckets, got downhill a little bit, hit the pocket, and we weren't able to recover. So for us, just about taking care of the ball and then making sure that
quarter is where it completely fell apart. Chicago outscored Indiana 39-27 in that period, erased the entire lead, and took their first advantage since the score was 7-6 in the opening minutes. Across the second and third quarters combined, the Fever gave up 65 points while only scoring 33 themselves, and a lot of those Chicago buckets came in transition off Indiana turnovers. Aliyah Boston described the pattern pretty plainly after the game. In some of those stretches where teams go on runs, we turn the ball over 2 out of 3 possessions in a row and then we're not getting stops. That's not a defensive scheme breaking down. That's just sloppy basketball giving a good team a running start. Sydney Taylor is the reason the third quarter got that bad.
Kelsey Mitchell is a talented scorer, but she might have the worst basketball IQ of anyone I've ever seen. Look at this play here. She gets the steal, and the Fever are up by 5 with a minute left. So in this situation, all you want to do is hold it and bleed the clock and get a good shot, but no, she drives into the paint over 2 defenders at 5'8", and it's a turnover. This is genuinely worse than the Fox play. They're up by 3 here with 7 seconds left. All they have to do is inbound the ball and hold it because they're going to get fouled. Look at how she's looking at the rim. She was genuinely going to shoot this ball, and because of that, she doesn't control it.
The Sky rookie came off the bench and dropped 16 points in that quarter alone on 5 of 6 shooting, finishing with 30 points in just 21 minutes of total play. Analysts watching live couldn't believe what they were seeing from a rookie off the bench. And Chicago's whole energy shifted because of her. Stephanie White's rotations during that stretch drew real criticism, too, because some of the decisions about who was on the floor while Taylor was cooking just didn't hold up. Kelsey Mitchell's night captured everything complicated about this game. She scored 19 points and contributed real offense, but with Indiana up 5 and about a minute left in the fourth quarter, she attacked the rim and missed a layup that should have run the clock down and ended it. Instead of a sealed win, the Fever left the door open. Then with Indiana leading 98-95 and 5.1 seconds remaining, Mitchell fumbled the final play and handed Chicago the ball. Skylar Diggins hit the game-tying 3 with 0.9 seconds left and the game went to overtime. White acknowledged after the game that the staff hadn't drilled that endgame fouling situation enough, saying, "We haven't worked on probably as much of that situation as we needed to." So in the
Boston can't finish. Pass ahead. Sheldon.
Indiana spent the fourth quarter doing just enough to stay ahead, then watched 2 back-to-back mistakes hand Chicago exactly the lifeline they needed. And suddenly a game that had looked like a comfortable Fever win required 5 more minutes to decide. Overtime started and Clark and Boston ran the exact same pick-and-roll they'd been running all night because Chicago still didn't have a better answer for it in the extra period than they'd had in the previous 4 quarters. The Sky came in believing they could still steal this game. And honestly, after Skylar Diggins hit that 3 with 0.9 9 seconds left to force overtime. That belief wasn't crazy, but Myisha Hines-Allen had been making JC Sheldon's night miserable every time Sheldon tried to create something. And that didn't change when the overtime clock started. Fever fans know Sheldon's name for a reason that has nothing to do with basketball skill. And seeing Hines-Allen erase her with that block earlier in the game was the kind of physical statement that the crowd felt immediately. Hines-Allen finished with a plus 25 in just 23 minutes, which is a number that tells you everything about how much Indiana's energy shifted when she was on the floor. Sheldon never really found space to operate. And a lot of that credit goes to Hines-Allen just being bigger, stronger, and more physical than anything Sheldon wanted to deal with. Clark in overtime ran the offense like the game was never in doubt. She read Boston before the play developed, attacked the rim when Chicago's defense collapsed, and kept finding open players when the sky doubled. Boston's 34 points didn't arrive in one hot stretch. They came in waves throughout the entire game and kept coming into overtime. And staying that physically productive through 40-plus minutes against Chicago's interior defense isn't a fluke. That's where her game actually is right now. Indiana scored 114 points in an overtime game against a team that had just clawed back from 19 down. And the offense didn't stall when the game got tight. That's a genuinely different version of this Fever team than the one that spent the third quarter turning the ball over and giving Chicago transition buckets. The questions about Stephanie White's fourth quarter decisions, especially that final play that handed Chicago back the ball with 5.1 seconds left, didn't disappear just because Indiana won overtime. White admitted after the game that the staff hadn't drilled that specific end-of-game fouling situation enough, and that's the kind of thing you can't keep getting away with in close games. But Clark addressed overtime directly in the post-game press conference, crediting Boston and describing their connection as something built from genuinely knowing each other as people, not just running plays together. Boston confirmed it from her side, too, explaining that the pick-and-roll reads that look telepathic on film actually come from putting in real work to understand each other's tendencies, knowing where Clark will be after a screen, whether the defense plays up or drops back.
Clark driving, blocked by Koulibaly. Looking like Anunoby. Sorry, San Antonio fans.
Ouch, Grady. Yeah, that hurt a lot of people.
It was reminiscent.
Clark and Boston just did something no two teammates had ever done in this league's entire history. So whatever ceiling exists for this partnership, they haven't come close to it yet. The 114-point franchise record tells you something real about where this offense can go because Indiana didn't hit that number in a comfortable blowout where both teams checked out in the fourth quarter. They hit it in overtime against a Chicago team that had just erased a 19-point lead and forced extra time on a buzzer beater. That's the Fever's offense producing at a level the franchise had never reached before under the worst possible conditions for padding stats. Clark owns 3 30-point, 10-assist games in WNBA history now. And every other player in league history has won it most. She's doing this in her third season, so the argument about who the best point guard in this league is right now isn't really something people can debate seriously anymore. 3-1 in 3 seasons. Nobody else has even done it twice. What's worth sitting with is how many of those 8 records came from 2 players working together rather than 1 player going off individually. Boston's career high happened because Clark kept finding her on the roll. Clark's assist numbers happened because Boston kept finishing. The first ever 30-point double-double duo in WNBA history happened because neither of them was the supporting player in someone else's game. Stephanie White put it directly after the final buzzer. When you have a point guard and you have a center that are special, you can build a team around that. And that's exactly what Indiana is doing. Lexi Hull grabbing 8 rebounds and playing real defense. Kelsey Mitchell scoring 19 points. Myisha Hines-Allen posting a plus 25 in 23 minutes. Those contributions matter because they give Clark and Boston room to operate without carrying every single possession. The supporting cast isn't perfect yet, and the fourth quarter collapses and late-game execution problems that nearly cost Indiana this win are real issues that don't disappear because the Fever won in overtime. But on June 11, 2026, Clark and Boston broke 8 records in a single game. And 6 of those records exist specifically because both of them were operating at their ceiling at the same time in the same building running the same pick and roll that Chicago spent 45 minutes trying to solve and never did. That two-man action isn't going anywhere, and every team on Indiana's schedule still has to figure out an answer for it. Show your support for Caitlin and Aliyah by commenting CC and AB record breaker. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications as we're bringing you all the action and top stories. Click the video on the screen and we'll see you in the next.